Hey everybody, welcome back to Terps Esports, live from College Park. My name is Lily.
And my name is Bree. We are super excited to have you guys back tonight for an awesome match from our GC Premier team.
Tonight, the Terps are facing off against UT Tyler in the Play vs. League. 2 weeks ago, we saw the co-ed Premier team kick off their season in this new league. But now it's time for our GC Premier team to make a statement here early in their Play vs. journey.
Before we jump into the game, let's start with your rules of a typical Valorant match. If you've never played the game before, Valorant is an objective-based FPS game where teams of 5 players compete in 2 12-round cycles against each other. The main objectives of the game are to plant the spike, defend the spike, manage economies, and create strategic plans to outsmart your opponent and take the win.
Alright, now that you know the basics about Valorant, let's get right into the action. And it's important to note that this team operates on a 6-man roster. This means that you'll see different players swap in depending on map picks and available agent pools.
Now, it's time for us to introduce you the members of the team and take a look at their stats from this season. So make sure you give everyone a warm welcome as we break down the roster and show you what they're bringing to the table. So starting off strong, we have Care Bear as the team's controller. Her main job is to secure sites on attack and hold down the fort on defense. Where and when she decides to place her smokes will heavily influence the outcome of each round. She has an ACS of 154, an ADR of 103, and a KD of 0.6.
Alright, next up we have our flex player Savani. Savani has been an important piece to this roster in years past, and she's back for another season. So we're used to seeing her in the duelist role, but I'm really excited to see what she's able to do tonight in that flex position. She's got an ACS of 283, which is the highest of her team, an ADR of 170, and a KD of 1.87.
Next on the roster is Trace. Trace is the team's initiator. They rely on her to use her utility in order to make fights more favorable. She also plays an important role in gathering information for the rest of the team to work off of. She's coming in with an ACS of 185, an ADR of 125, and a KD of 1.07.
And moving on, we have Soap as the team's Sentinel. And we've seen her perform really well in that Sentinel position in seasons past, so I would expect nothing less for tonight. And personally, I love seeing her in that KJ role. She's got an ACS of 234, which is incredibly high for a Sentinel, an ADR of 154, and a KD of 1.13.
Next up, we have the team's second controller, Carrots. Carrots has been a part of the GC family for a while now, and she has consistently been an important pillar of the team. She's got an ACS of 275, an ADR of 176, and a KD of 1.45.
Alright, now we have Kiko as the team's duelist, and although she's a new member to this roster, she is a familiar face in the studio as she's been a very active member of the esports program in years past. But this is her first time in the player seat under the Terps Esports name.
As a duelist, her job is to take space for the rest of the team by winning those early round fights, which impact the outcome of the round later on. So you'll probably see her running onto site, tapping heads, and just clearing up space for the rest of her team. She's finally able to show her talent tonight on stream. Kiko's coming in with an ACS of 146, ADR of 101, and a KD of 0.57. Hello, Kiko. How are you?
Hello, I'm so good. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad you are here tonight. So I know you know your way around our UMD Esports program, but this is your first time playing on stream. How do you feel tonight?
I'm feeling so ecstatic. Honestly, I'm really, really nervous. I've been in this room before, but actually playing in one of the seats, it's really hitting me right now, and I'm just really nervous, but I'm very excited. So.
Of course, it's very emotional, very high, like, emotions happening, especially behind that screen and having the face cam in your face. It's scary stuff, so I'm really excited for you to start playing. How has being a member of this team been treating you so far, and what are you hoping to accomplish this coming season?
Honestly, being on this team, I've been very grateful to be on this team. I've met a lot of new friends, and I'm just happy to have kind of a space to share my passion for games with the rest of these girls on the team. It's been very exciting. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yes, have you guys been able to do anything like outside of the studio, like, you know, between scrims or anything between practices? Like, have you guys gotten like food or anything?
Yes.
Just hung out and whatnot?
Yeah, we've hung out multiple times now, and we actually just got dinner right before this match. So
Awesome. Where'd you guys go?
we went to the ramen bar right across the street, and it was so
Oh my gosh.
delicious.
If you guys ever come to UMD, please come. I think it's like Okinawa or
Yes,
something like
yes,
that,
yes.
right next to Jumbo Jumbo here. It's like across the street from Night Hall where we stream. So that's a great ramen place. I love their corn dogs there. It's like 110.
They have corn dogs?
It's so awesome.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
Korean corn dogs.
I need to
love
go
it.
again.
So what about your in-game name? What's the lore behind you choosing Kiko as your gamer tag?
Yes, so Kiko actually is a mix of my name and my cat's name. So my cat's name is Mimo, Mimo, and so I just kind of switched out the K, and thus was born Kiko.
Yes, that's so cute. A tribute to your cat, Mimo. I love that. So now, to end on a fun question, I know you mentioned to me that you like playing Jet, Raze, and Neon. If you had to live with one of their agent kits for the rest of your life, who would you choose and why?
Oh, that's a good question. Definitely, I think I would choose Neon for the sole fact, imagine just being able to run across campus. Like, I would never be late to class. I would never be late to anything. I would just be able to run, and, you know, it would be a breeze. So,
And if
I
it's
would choose
one
that.
thing here at UMD, like Stamp Hill is like no joke. So could you imagine like Neon like sliding down
It's no
Stamp
joke.
Hill and you could just throw your slows at people
Yes,
and just stun
literally.
them? But yeah, thank you, Kiko, for being able to join us for tonight. I'm so excited to see you play, and I wish you the best of luck for tonight.
Thank you.
We will get shortly back into the stream, but thank you guys for joining us for this tonight's pre-show.
And I think by the end of the season, like now, we play together, everyone kind of jokes around a little bit more and kind of shines their natural ray. We're excited just to see them play better as well.
With the middle school program, the best part has been seeing the moments of teamwork where the middle schoolers really seem to get the game, and so that's when you can see they're starting to get a little bit hooked on how esports can be so fun.
Off game, or will Red turn things around?
Terp Adventures. Take flight at Stamp. Host to countless Maryland events, programs, performances, and more. Feed your body. Feed your mind. Feed your soul. Let your talents soar. Dance. Sing. Perform. Find your thing. Join more than 800 student organizations and clubs. Find community here. Leadership lives here. Art thrives here. With space to grow. We're all just kids at heart. Let your imagination fly. Compete. Play. With wings on our feet. Here your spirit can fly. Here your soul lifts up. Here you remember those who came before. This is STAM. This is the center for campus life, where Terp adventures take flight. You belong here. Come fly with us.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We are gonna jump into the action shortly here, and I think we have a sense of what our map picks are looking like.
Yeah, I heard they're going to be starting off Haven defense side. I think I can expect what the loadout is going to look like. I'm already seeing a KJ, an Omen going on. You know, from what I'm hearing, it looks like they already know what they've chosen, but
Yeah, it sounds like from the audio cues that we are in game. And like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if we did see a KJ. And that's exciting because Soap is very good at lurking in that KJ role, especially on a map like Haven and, you know, Abyss. Like those types of maps are very good at having that lurk into mid. And I'm excited to see what she's able to pull off here. As we are on Haven, we are going to be starting this one off on the attack.
Ooh, Savani's playing a Yoru. I usually get to see Savani play like more of like a Raze or a Jet, but now that she's picking Yoru, I think these are going to be pretty good strats happening. They are going to go ahead and start pushing. They're going to do a little bit of a default here.
Yeah, so the Terps showing like early presence here A long, but they are still keeping their options opened towards C-site. Savani even making the first little bit of noise, and they can jump over that Cypher trip actually if they sniff that out early enough. But for now, it's more so just getting a sense of where this utility is. First shots come through on this A site. Savani not liking what she's seeing, backing up and meeting up with the rest of her team. They're right outside of sewers. Everyone just kind of trying to figure out where everyone's head is at before going in guns blazing here.
If it's one thing, A site is pretty hard to push, especially when you have a Cypher set up there, and that Cypher is just hanging on to heaven there. We already have a little bit of a peek here coming from Garage. Hopefully we're able to get a pick out, but unfortunately UTT is able to get a pick off of Savani. Soap is over here fighting for her life, trying to retreat back onto mid with the rest of her team just still defaulting here.
But look at this A site. With the exception of the Cypher, site is clear. If they can weave their way around the setup, they're in the clear. But Carrot's taking a lot of damage on that chamber pick off the bat. Still, they do not want to back down because time is starting to dwindle here. So Trace able to buy a little bit of space, but she's gonna have to do a little bit more than that here to secure this site, as UTT is already on their site here. But Care Bear is doing the whole 9 yards and getting those 2 picks there for her teammates. Still may not be enough to win them the round. Only 10 seconds left to get this bomb planted. Gonna have to see a lot of aggression coming out from the Terps as Carrots finds 2. It's gonna help things out a lot, but she gets caught with really bad timing. Unfortunately, down to just a 2v1. Make that a 1v1 with Trace left as her team's only hope, and she will secure round number 1 and put the Terps off here to a great start against UTT.
What an amazing, amazing round we had there. I was honestly very scared for that ISO. I thought that ISO was going to be able to like do a little wraparound against us and just doink us, if you may. But that was amazing. We were able to just go around that like it was nothing. I mean, that was just one more kill away before UTT was able to get an ace. Mind you, first round, pistol round. But we were able to go back up and win our way from it. And our loadouts are looking pretty good because of it. We're going to go ahead and force and get some Spectres here this round.
Yeah, and you do want to force up second round if you win round 1 because you do have the gun advantage. Wow, a lot of early aggression here from C-Long. Care Bear is the one who's going to get the sense of that for the rest of her team, and she's actually using a lot of her utility here to get a sneaky angle if that push does come through into their spawn. So the Terps kind of playing defensively so far. Care Bear speaks first, though, and Soap is right there to help her out, but she doesn't need it. She goes ahead and claims a second live, and actually now her team is liking how C is looking. This is going to be a scale back towards a now clear C site, and they just have to use a little bit of utility, and they have plenty of time to get this bomb down.
I finally get to see some action here from Savani. Now that site is finally clear, and now all you got to worry about is just holding down site and for post plant. Everybody's already starting to retreat onto C site slowly from UTT side, but we do have a little bit of a chase going on here. Umbra on UTT side is trying to get Carrots, and Carrots is so low, but unfortunately Carrots did not win that fight. We already have Umbra starting to go in through our flank here, but our numbers are still looking pretty good with 4 of the Terps still alive and only 3 of UTT's members, and they're still trying to get on, but the Terps are just having this post plant just nailed down to the ground with these smokes and just holding all these corners. I mean, look at these walkways that they're holding. Just all 3 of them holding hands, just like it's nothing here.
Yeah, not a chance here for UTT to get any sort of space on site. Knowing that, looks like they're gonna back up and just save what they can. Maybe hold a exit pick here that the Terps have to be careful of, and hopefully no one else dies. Yeah, Savani able to put a stop to that. But yeah, another really great round for the Terps, and that round looked very different than the first, but it ended in the same way with the Terps win.
It seemed a little more confident, I guess you could say. Maybe it's because the Terps had more, more to bring onto the fight. They had Spectres, they had decent shields, they had utilities, they were throwing it like it was nothing. So I think seeing that confidence is a good thing, but let's not let that confidence run out just yet, especially now that UTT is able to buy these guns and we're still just saving off of what we've had from that last round, you know, just to keep the economy going and decent for the next oncoming rounds.
Yeah, this is the Terps bonus round here with that buy that we saw in round number 2. So they're looking to take this mid fight, but they don't have the gun advantage because we can see there's Vandals, there's Phantoms on the other side, and that damage is going to start to come through in the form of picks and at the expense of Trace. But can the Terps start to sway the odds back in their favor? No, as it's going to be the Cypher to get 2 picks and still so much mid presence from UTT. The Terps are just left completely stunned right now, and now it's really just up to Soap here to just get as many picks as she can, and this round not looking great for the Terps.
Well, they are gonna sniff Soap out. It looks like it's just an absolute bloodbath down mid there. Outside of Garage, outside of B, all of our Terps have just unfortunately fallen, but all of UTT is just holding these angles, already climbing up onto window while Soap's trying to hold both angles. You never know if they're gonna wrap around, but once this smoke dissipates, I hope Soap doesn't get caught, and thankfully she doesn't, but now they know where Soap is hiding now. What more is there to do? They're gonna hold Spike down. They have Spike. They know that she has to grab that Spike. What more is Soap able to do other than just tap heads?
And, you know, Soap, you can't count her out. You can't count this round quite over yet because she has some insane just skills with that gun there. But, you know, just pure numbers, pure angles. Gonna be overwhelming to anyone you put in that position. And that will be the first round that the Terps lose.
That's what I was saying. I hope that confidence doesn't, you know, dwindle because of that round, because at most that's what you're going to expect from a bonus round. You're going to get bombarded with these guns, and it looks like UTT is getting much more aggressive because of that, because they knew that they had that advantage. So even with that, we are still up, but now the Terps have to play much more safer, and it looks like they're going to go ahead and favor a little bit more towards A, maybe work back up the way they did first round, but it's going to be a default for now, just to sniff out how UTT is playing again.
And the playing field is even now in terms of loadouts. Both sides have their ideal weapons in hand. Ultimate's starting to get on that board as well. So we're going to start to see some more dramatic plays here from both sides as the Terps defaulting a little bit, but favoring this A site. Like you mentioned, it pays off with Savani getting a wallbang kill to start off the prospects here onto A. But, you know, Terps not getting too overly zealous about that. They're still, you know, knowing that the reinforcements have arrived on this A site and they would be correct with 3 defenders there just waiting for a push to come through. So I actually really do like what Soap is doing right now and what this mid presence is for the Terps right now.
Yeah, hopefully it catches them off guard, and it most definitely does. Now that that Cypher is down and wasn't even holding down A, it gives the Terps a little bit of an advantage to go ahead and start pushing A, as UTT is going to start running around to see where the Terps have already gotten onto. And it already looks like Care Bear is just hanging out on C site with Trace. All Trace has to do is hold down that plant while Care Bear watches and get a pick. But unfortunately, Savani gets taken out in the process. But thankfully, Care Bear is there to hold him down. But I spoke too soon. UTT, already 2 of their players are just left, but Spike is still down. So either way, they're going to have to get these Terps out of the equation and prevent that defuse.
And diffuse situations like this are so difficult, but when you're positioned C long, you can just spam and hope that that's enough. And in this case, it will be likely enough for the Terps, but the job's not done yet. There's still 1 player for UTT left. Trace gonna throw that Sova utility to buy a little bit more time, make this Omen a little bit more paranoid. Now there's so many angles to watch for UTT, and the Terps can just jiggle peek those angles and secure a win for this one. And round number 4 there, Terps will take in confidence and hold on to 2 of those weapons that they purchased up.
Trey's showing a little bit of a smirk there. What she does was very smart. Honestly, once you have a plan on C long, and especially now that I think they removed the ping, you can't really see like where you're spraying anymore or where you're gonna be like where the bomb is planted. You just gotta spray and pray. But Trey's already knew what was happening, showing that shock dart, Soap coming out from Garage just to mess with them. Great play. That's great teamwork to see, and I hope that this is something that we can bring on for the next upcoming rounds because it's looking really good so far.
No ultimates quite used yet, but we're seeing kind of a different appearance this round for the Terps with heavy presence towards C Long, but the Cypher has repositioned accordingly for UTT. Ironically enough, how will the Terps respond is the question, and the answer will be with a Yoru ultimate from Savani to just annoy this Cypher and hopefully distract them enough, but no, the pick comes through for UTT and for the Cypher, and UMD's plan is just foiled here on the C side. They've lost Spike, they've lost the hope of a round win unless Soap can do the impossible and clutch up with an ace with only 14 HP.
Pretty unfortunate for Savani there. You know, I had hope, but unfortunately she was just caught lacking. I know Soap already has her ult here, but she is also 14 HP, and UTT is just crawling around on C side. There's not much she can do. She's kind of confined to either push between Garage or come in through their CT, but they are holding every which angle, and it looks like she might get a little bit of a corner spam here, a little bit of a wall bang maybe, but it's very high intensity as we can see, and it's not looking so hot. Either way, you just gotta play exits and wait and see if UTT gets impatient, but they already know where she is, so they might just bum rush her instead.
Yeah, this is just going to have to be a exits play here, but interestingly enough, that was kind of the first round that the Terps decided to full rush in a site, you know, not default, not scale up mid, and it didn't work out for them. So it's going to be interesting to see if they decide to go with a different sort of MO about doing things in the next coming rounds, or if they want to, you know, try that rush again, maybe on a different site.
Yeah, I think that was just an unfortunate play. There wasn't really much to do for that round. I think the best way to go out was that shock dart, honestly. Sorry, so, but I think the execution was there. It was just getting those picks. I think maybe UTT Cypher got lucky with that, just hanging on to the corner there. But my girl Savani, unfortunately, she was doing the right thing, but unfortunately it did not work out. But I think that plan can still work again nonetheless.
Yeah, this time the Terps opting for a 3-2 split actually on either side, neglecting Spike for the moment, instead focusing on these picks. But they have to be careful for this UTT Yoru that's so far pushed up, and Soap will be the first to die as a result. And now the Terps are left in a response mode. They're no longer being proactive here, knowing that Carrots is going to use that chamber ultimate, and it's going to opt to take those long range fights, posted up outside of C Long for the moment, but right now the Terps have to be regrouping and replanning as to what their next move is.
Yeah, it looks like UTT is very patient. They're waiting for these entrances and these pushes to happen. They're not, you know, peeking at all other than that Yoru, but now that they got that pick off of the Terps, it's just the waiting game now, just to see what happens. And the Terps are trying as hard as they can to probably catch somebody lacking, but now that they finally picked up Spike, it looks like they're going to favor more towards like a Garage, a little bit onto C push, but it's all about the execution, because nonetheless, UTT Cypher is still hanging out on C site there, and they have to get around those trips anyways.
Yeah, UMD's looking indecisive right now. They're kind of throwing utility both on this B site and C site to kind of throw UTT off, but it hasn't worked. They've really held their ground here on every single one of these sites, and ultimately this will be an A execute from both sewers and through main, but UTT is in a great position defensively here to handle this, so the Terps gonna have to make their utility do the work for them in this case, and they're gonna have to dodge a ISO ultimate. Carrots still has that operator in hand for her chamber ultimate, and the ISO ultimate does take down Savani, but it's just a complete bloodbath here on this A site. Tracy able to find two for herself, but it's not quite enough with this stellar retake that UTT had.
I just think A is a very possible for us to take and play post plant on, and we were able to do it for the first round, but now that we have guns, I think we're slipping off just a little bit. Not saying that we're getting a little scared, but I think it's just committing to it. You know, I think we're not being able to get a good read on UTT just yet, and because of that, I think it's messing us up a tad bit. But either way, our economies are still looking pretty okay. We are a little sparse here on the Terp side, just a little $300 just to hold on to, and a dream, if you may. But I don't know, I think they should just full on push C this time, but a default is going to be the best bet for now.
Yeah, default is indeed what will happen here. Some early utility usage from Trace. Didn't get a ping on anyone on that A site, so they might decide to actually go ahead and scale up that way as a result, but still, you know, they're really spreading out here. This is kind of what we've seen in the rounds that they've ended up winning, is being patient here, and obviously it's working out beautifully in the early round here for Carrots. And yeah, the Terps have 3 ultimates to work with if they need to, and 2 of them are really good post-plan ultimates. So that's something to consider if they do end up in a post-plant scenario here and they're able to push UTT off of this A site.
Yeah, and it's most definitely very possible. It looked like that Yoru blind didn't help UTT at all quite yet. We did already get a Cypher out here from the Terps side, and we already know where these locations are at, and yet the Terps are still a little bit spread apart on our side here. So I don't know. It's looking more towards like an A push here, but we're still waiting for that initial push and to go because we're not too confident here on A site just yet.
But I like this sewers position because the Sova is going to get caught having to watch 2 different angles here, main and sewers, if Carrots aligns that timing there with the rest of her teammates up into sewers. And that call is going to come through right now as Savani is the one who responds there, able to secure some time there and a little bit of space here on this A site. And now we are in that post plant, and we should be able to hold on to our ultimates here considering we are up in numbers by 2 players here. So as long as the Terps play their angles wisely, and Soap's going to be the first one to do so. What a shot there from her. And the rest of these UTT players are positioned up into CT, which Trace will get a read on there with her drone.
Yeah, and it's looking pretty good so far. The bomb is already planted, and that's a trend for the Terps. Planting bomb with 10 to 15 seconds. We were able to get some good picks, and we ultimately were able to take that round home. I loved the execution on that map, on that site, like pushing onto that site with the Sova arrow, forcing the UTT Sova to just go ahead and push up. Caught him in the crossfire, caught him lacking. He was already, they were already detected either way, and just a beautiful execution overall by the Terps. And I think this slow play is kind of scaring me. The 10 to 15 second mark to plant is scary. You know, you're just full on pushing on the site, and I don't know, guys.
But slow and steady seemingly has been winning the race so far for
Most
the Terps.
definitely.
Oh, but they've got to be careful of that operator, as Savani will be the one to get picked off of that early on. And now the Terps definitely don't want any part of that A long push unless they're going to use a whole lot of utility. But the operator actually repositioned really quickly, which is really smart here from UTT. Soap able to equalize things a little bit, but are the Terps going to be aware of this new operator angle here into Garage? Garage is a place that the Terps have looked to in the late round stages of each round, so they're going to have to be very mindful there.
A thing about mid, though, is that Soap usually has mid on lock, but either way, if Soap gets between that crack of Garage, she's unfortunately going to get caught in the crossfire here by the Yoru, like I said. Unfortunate picks, and we already have 2 of our Terps down, so we are on opposite sides of the map, with Bomb being more towards C. But either way, we have to go ahead and get around that op because it's not looking too hot for us.
Yeah, the Terps do have spike control, but they do not have a site to plant it. Carrots being very sneaky is able to take that operator down in a second and make that a third for Carrots, taking complete control here of this A site. And she just maybe very well have won her team this round single-handedly.
She must be mad. She had that on lock like it was nothing. We already know that this Cypher is going to be coming from CT, but there is also an ult that they have. But either way, I don't know. I'm not liking this Heaven play because either way, you got to jump out or have your head just showing from Heaven, and you're going to get just your head taken off. Like, or maybe not. Unfortunately, Care Bear does taken off, but Carrots was able to finish off that round with 4 picks like it was nothing. That was crazy.
That was insane from Carrots. She showed zero fear there. Like, she was being really quiet, and then all of a sudden saw 3 players and just said, hey, what I gotta do now? I gotta shoot them. I gotta kill them. Yeah, let's take another look at this. Look at that. Like, just the flake there, and the crosshair adjustment is beautiful, and it puts the Terps in a position to, like, have a great economy status because look at where UTT is.
Yeah, it looks like they're already just going to have to stick to sheriffs and pistols for this round. And I hope that they're not Deagle Demons because we have a pretty good setup here for the Terps. And it's looking like it's favoring more towards A. I'm assuming we're going to have a little bit of a lurk here on B because we usually have grass and B on lock. And it's kind of like our last resort to rotate into. But I might be wrong. The Terps are getting a little more cocky. They know, wow, Kara was able to get a freaking wall bang with that, and she's out for blood, but they don't want to get too greedy, so they're going to start retreating on back a little bit towards B here, a little bit back into CT as well.
Man, Carrots is on a rampage so far. And yeah, this round suddenly became very quiet as soon as she was able to secure that first pick. And there are 3 ultimates online for UTT, so that's something the Terps have got to be aware of in terms of where they want to go and plant this bomb. You know, sometimes C-Site gets very difficult in terms of trying to hold that down with a bunch of ultimates, particularly that Sova ultimate. So that is going to have to weigh into their decision, but they seem to have faked UTT out really well here and have found themselves a gift of an A site if they choose to go ahead and unwrap it.
Yeah, it's just a matter of going ahead and just going through and just pushing it on there. Savani's already on site here with that bomb, but is unfortunately getting tricked out with the Sova. Hopefully she doesn't get caught into it, and thankfully she doesn't. Just sticking onto that plant. Mind you, UTT has Sheriff, so it's looking like the Terps are doing pretty well, just throwing UTT like it's no tomorrow. Carrot went ahead and got a second pick already. We know she's mad, but it's nonetheless a great post plant so far.
Oh, and so many players posted up in CT, and it's just a bloodbath. The Terps know their positioning. They're just firing through there, hoping a bullet lands, and a couple will, and it only leaves 1 player here for UTT. So another round, presumably in the books here for the Terps, and they've been on a bit of a roll.
Oh, most definitely. They're just going ahead spraying there. Here we have Carrots getting a little crazy, and as she does, gets 3 picks this round. She is just absolutely insane, absolute madness. I don't know what's in the air in the studio today, but she's out for blood.
The vibes are great in the studio. I know everyone was really excited to be in here. You know, this is their first time being in here this semester. They've had a couple of matches, and I know a couple of them didn't quite go their way, and it looks like they're finally kind of getting in their rhythm here as a team. This is a new roster. There's new faces here, and there's new coaches as well, new team manager. So here they are making a statement in the early season.
And it's looking pretty good for him. We're already being 3-6 here. We have a great advantage here. I'm assuming Kerber is waiting for a potential Sova dart to come in from there, which is a great calm here. But Soap unfortunately gets picked off here on window as UTT starts to make their way up onto our CT.
And just so many ultimates being used for the side of the Terps invested on the C site. Carrots does get a pick. Savani gets traded, and the Cypher here on the C site wreaking havoc like they've done before. And suddenly the Terps dropping like flies and are just trapped here right outside of C long with the bomb on the ground and just in a really difficult position here to come away with any sort of hopes of a round win.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think there's any way for Carrots to get out of that situation, and it looks like Carrots is starting to meet her match just a little bit, but UTT is just trying to assert as much dominance as they can, and they most definitely did that round. And now that that's happened, our economies are just the same. We're back on a decent playing field here, and with that, I think it's going to be a little hard for the Terps to get back from that round, because if it's one thing, when UTT gets guns, it gets pretty serious.
That chamber ultimate online for Carrots. Interested to see how she's using it. It's kind of more difficult to use on the attack side, but still, you're able to be proactive with it in certain sense. You have to just be really smart about it. But she is an amazing chamber player, so have full confidence that we're going to see some great ultimate usage out of her soon. But for now, it's going to be just the same A presence that the Terps have been doing pretty consistently. And the Sova has been positioned behind box there round after round. And the rounds have really been decided by if they can draw those defensive players off of the A site before, you know, setting up a nice post plant, or if they're just able to go in and kill that Sova. Those are kind of the ways in which the Terps have been able to be successful on that site.
Yeah, especially if it's always been Savani and Carrots just hanging out down A long. I think they're a good duo to just go ahead and throw in their util and get onto site, but it's a little tricky to know with UTT. I mean, it's always that Sova there, but then you never know if that Cypher switches back around onto A from C site.
And kind of for the first time, we're seeing an actual B push come through, or at least just the idea of it there with some util from Savani and Soap there posted up right on the other side of that smoke. I really like this position from Carrots, though. She might catch the Sova completely off guard, and she does just that. And now she has bought her team a free A site. And like we said, it's these A executes, and Soap just being so sneaky into mid there. Everything is going right now for the Terps.
And it's really looking good. We already have Spike planted on a little bit earlier this time. A lot of people have already been caught here by all of this utility that's happening. And UTT is already just dropping like flies with only 2 of them just hanging out here on CT. But once the smoke dissipates, it's over for UTT here. As I said, Savani got her revenge on that Yoru with Carrots following right behind her, getting that pick on that Omen there. I loved this round. That was a great play. I really liked it.
Yeah, and just speaking of Carrots, just to highlight her for a moment, she is having an incredible game. Just let's take another look at this. Let's really let this one sink in. She's alone here on this site. This is such a high-risk play, and she handled it with just such confidence. Look at these stats again. That is such a high ACS for a Smokes player, and we're seeing why she has those numbers on the screen.
Especially with that 1.4 KD, guys. She's just hanging around just as Cypher, or just as Sova here, and it's working, or just as Chamber, and it's working in our advantage.
Again, some early A presence. Now Carrot's going to use that Chamber ultimate, and Soap's able to get that Cypher ultimate online as well. Oh, Carrots does make that Chamber ultimate known to the side of UTT, and now the Terps still being really patient here as to where they're going to end up, because Soap actually does get picked off. That's not good for the Terps. They've momentarily lost Spike, and they've lost a very important ultimate and player with it.
Oh yeah, and you know that Soap was able to hold down mid for quite a few rounds now. Now that we've lost her, it's looking a little difficult, especially since she had her ult as well. But it's looking a little safe here as the Terps are trying to push on to A, but they're getting bombarded here from window just a little bit. We have Trace and Care Bear just going on to site with Savani and Carrots just going on. And all you gotta do is just plant. And we've done this post-plant before, and we've defended the Spike this way at the same time, but unfortunately we have one of our Terps getting taken away into that ISO ult, so we only really have 3 people on this round on this site.
Oh, and the Cypher being really sneaky has made their way onto this site. Finally, Savani able to put a stop to that, and now the Terps have to go in a numbers down retake. They do have that ultimate there from Carrots, and they're gonna have to use it now. She's the last one left to ride and has a Spike left that she's trying to keep ticking, and she's gonna have to fight for it, but just the sheer number disadvantage will not be easy on her.
I think that ISO ult is really what messed us up on that round. We lost a player there, and it was only with that Sheriff, by the way. And if it's one thing in an ISO ult, I'm panicking. Like, I'm moving left and right between those shields. It's over for me. But I still think we're able to work our way back up here, especially since we should switch sides. And I think we're gonna get more of this Yoru works from UTT side now that they're attacking. So I'm a little afraid because they did show what they can do with an op for later rounds.
Yeah, but we have Carrots, who's currently 17 and 8, and she has an operator she can purchase and one in her util kit, and it's gonna be so much easier for her to use that now that we're on the defense side. She has time to post up, she has time to hold her angles and wait for a swing to come through. So I'm excited to see that in the later rounds here. But here we are on pistols, and the Terps have to, win this early battle first.
Yeah, UTT is gonna do a little bit of something similar that the Terps did, but unfortunately Carrots does get taken out, even though she used her own chamber pistol there. UTT is flawlessly able to get onto B site here, but Care Bear was able to take it out, but unfortunately gets traded out by UTT's Yoru. They're gonna go ahead and start planting, and our numbers aren't looking so hot either.
Yeah, not a great start here for the Terps on pistol. It's going to be even harder with Tracy getting picked. Only 2 alive left, and they have to make their way onto the site. They have smokes to work through. It's going to be a tall task here for the Terps, but in pistols, anything's possible. You get a couple picks that go your way, and suddenly the round becomes winnable. So certainly not a place where we can count the Terps out, and Soap looking to get things started here into window, and time is ticking here, so the Terps have to start to be really aggressive, and Soap will be the one to get an early pick, and she's got to deal with that window player, and she does so, and maybe the Terps are going to be able to sneak away with this one, but time is ticking, and this Sova here just wanted to put a stop to any devious plans that Soap had, and the Terps will lose that pistol round.
Yeah, Soap really had that. She literally killed one person and then right-clicked right after. Me, personally, I would have reloaded and died, but Soap was able to hold it down for us, and I really think if that Sova didn't creep up on us on UTT's side, we were able to get half of the spike, but unfortunately, all good things do come to an end here. UTT is going to go ahead and buy some guns now that they won that round, and this is what I was afraid of. I feel like we are able to get around this, even with classics happening, especially with Carrot peeking down mid with that chamber pistol. Hello?
100%, and hopefully that's going to be the game plan later on. But look at this defensive positioning from the Terps. Wow, we are hungry for a flank. Everybody on the team wants a piece of this quick flank. Carrots getting the short end of the stick, though, to start things off. And now the team will split up here with a couple people kind of trying to be defensive towards CT, and another two trying to potentially cook up a flank. But this Cypher is kind of sniffing it out and is looking towards up top and is able to take down Savani, but Soap responds. Still, the damage is done, and the Terps do not have the gun advantage here. So this is going to have to be a really smart retake, and it's going to be a difficult one for Soap at only 21 HP.
Yeah, unfortunately, it just wasn't gonna work out. But do we see that flank like 5 minutes into, or 5 seconds into the round? I feel like that would have potentially worked out if, UTT didn't know. Well, if UTT didn't have that loadout going in, if it's one thing about UTT, they are going to push onto a site, which is what I've noticed. They just full-on push, which can also be a disadvantage, especially if they're going to run onto Soap on a site. These Cypher setups are no jokes, guys. So now that we're at an even playing field here, I think this is the real deal. We're finally going to be able to see what we're going to get into for the rest of the rounds.
Yeah, I mean, the Terps let a few slip, 7-7 tied up, but like you said, we have those Vandals now, and Savani has one as she's looking towards A-Long. Uses that flash perfectly, not able to escape, though, and actually Trace dies right alongside with her, and that is a costly early round fight, and things just come crumbling down here for the Terps in the later stages of this round number 2 here on the defensive side, round number 3 on the defensive side here for the Terps.
I think it was just a little bit unfortunate that they just got picked off like that. I think UTT got a little paranoid, so they're checking every which angle to make sure that no Terp gets found, and they were able to successfully take home that round and pick up those guns, all while just bonusing off of that round. So the Terps are just a little broke here. They are going to have to stick with Sheriffs, but again, if it's one thing about our GC Premier team is that they are also Deagle Demons, and having a pistol is no different than having a heavy AR gun for them, honestly.
And what a privilege that must be. And we see for the first time this map, actually, UTT is, taking that lead. So how are the Terps going to respond here, actually trailing for the first time? We will have to see.
Oh yeah, they already were able to get a good pick on what's happening down on A site. Mind you, it's a party on A site right now. Savani, and we have our Terps here ready to go before they push in, but UTT was able to just go ahead and be patient about this. They're going to push back just a little bit, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to execute onto A. It's going to make the Terps a little impatient for a little bit, but there's not much you can do as Care Bear unfortunately gets picked off. And it's not looking good.
Yeah, already just kind of looking dire right now with that early pick, and that ISO ultimate's not going to make anything any easier. I believe that, yeah, they did manage to wrap Trace there up in that ultimate, and she does pay for it as UTT has found their way onto this A site, and looks like they're very aware of this mid lurk happening, and a trade does come through for either side. So able to upgrade her weapon, and keep in mind Savani and Soap right now do have full HP, so if there's any position they want to be in to go into this retake, it's got to be this one. But man, they have a mountain of work ahead of them here, and it's just not looking good here with that retake. And maybe this is premature, but maybe a timeout soon for the Terps.
Yeah, I don't know. That Omen blind looked a little planned to me. I mean, with the way we just came out of CT and then just got blinded automatically, it was a little iffy. So I think UTT's a little organized, like a little 1-2-3 swing way. They're very, they're good with articulating when and when not to just use their util, and I think that's what's gonna really get to the Terps here. Not saying that we don't have that, we most definitely have that, but it's difficult, especially with the kinds of guns that we had that round.
And hopefully this is going to be the round where the Terps can try and flip the script at least a little bit and get back into this game before it gets away from them here. And they give up a good lead that they had. So the stakes are high here, and Soap's going to be very aware of this movement here up in garage and onto this B site actually, where Kerber's gonna have to put up a smoke or two and allow that chamber utility to really slow down this push that was looking like it was gonna come through, and now they have to think again. Oh, but Soap caught just a player not looking and is able to take one with her, and now she's able to kind of finagle her way there into garage and reposition with the rest of her team onto this full scale on A.
Yeah, and with that ult happening, we already have enough information as we do. We already know that they're going to go ahead and push on A site here. Caribou hanging out with Soap here, just trying to get those picks going. Unfortunately, Trace does get picked off, and so does Caribou, leaving only 2 Terps against 3 of UTT's players here. Hopefully, ISO unfortunately does get that pick on Carrot, so it's all up to Soap here. I still think that this is possible, but UTT Sofa is going to go ahead and throw in that dart. We already know where Soap is hanging out, but look at her. She's so locked in, trying to check her corners, just trying to get as much picks. Unfortunately, does not get any picks here, and we are down 3 rounds here against UTT.
Man, you hate to see a lead get blown like this, and suddenly you blink and we're 3 rounds behind. You know, we were looking so confident. Soap was having just the game of her, or sorry, Carrots was having the game of her life for most of that round, and then suddenly UTT's responding. You know, the Terps are still playing great, but UTT has somehow kind of cracked the code. And I think the side flips had something to do with this. And now that, you know, the Terps realizing that they haven't been performing as well and they haven't had an answer to UTT, we're in a timeout now.
Because of that, I don't know. I don't know what the Terps could really do to work out of this. I just feel like maybe UTT, it's not looking so good for the Terps here. Like, UTT just looks like they're able to be a little malleable with how the Terps play, and I think that's what's getting us right now, is that we don't know how to do that back. We don't know how to just work around that, I guess. I think we need to try something new. I feel like maybe just waiting for that push onto site. I think what I've noticed is that we're a little too close to those entrances, but because of that, we lose our momentum and we get picked off very early within the round.
And hopefully on the other side of that timeout, the Terps, even though they're not coming into a bye round here, maybe they're just able to somehow muster something together and get a win, or at least try to flip the script of this economy a little bit, change up the play calls, do something here to give them, get them back into this game here before we start to head into, you know, closing out map number 1.
Yeah, Soap is unfortunately hanging out on C all by herself, while UTT is just going to go ahead and clear out these corners and just get onto that site. They are very fast, but thankfully the Terps are able to recuperate just a little bit on our CT here. Hopefully they're able to get these picks out as they fall for Savani's traps and her blinds as well.
Just a bloodbath here on the C site, and unfortunately it does not look like it's going the Terps' way. They were able to get a pick. That's all it has been so far, unless Carrot's able to do a little bit more. And no, but you hate to see not a round win come out as a result of that timeout. You know, not all hope is lost, because now they do have those weapons in hand, but they have like a large uphill battle here at a scoreline of 11-7.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's just what you gotta do. When you have pistols like that against these heavy loadouts, it's not a high chance that you're gonna win that round. But now that the Terps finally have some money to get some decent loadouts going on, we have Carrots with an operator, by the way. With an op. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen here. UTT's going to peek and a head's going to fly off. Who knows? But I think they're going to expect it from Carrots here, as unfortunately she does get smoked off. But it's still looking like a lot of noise either way. She was able to get a decent amount of damage off of 2 of UTT's players.
Yeah, look at that damage. Is that 2 leg shots that happened or what? Because she managed to do a whole lot of damage to that Omen and that ISO. And that ISO has been really important in the late round for UTT. You know, their retake is really good as they're able to use their utility to help their team get on that site. So having that ISO be so low could be really important and could be the thing here that helps the Terps out. As for now, they're being really patient here, but UTT favoring this A site, and Soap just has to manage to take as many down as she can with her. It's only going to be 1, though, for the moment.
and she was most definitely successful in doing so. Two of UTT's players are very low, as Savani is kind of just scoping out the scene and calming to her teammates that who is low and who isn't. As she gets out of her ult, she's gonna go ahead and try and spray as much as she can, and she does, and gets that Sova out of the equation. Can they get this very low Cypher and Omen out? Hopefully they do. It's just Carrots and this Omen. If it's one thing about Carrots, she's gonna get this on lock. She has blood on her hands and on that Vandal right now. She's ready to go, getting 3 amazing picks that round, and just set us up for success for the upcoming rounds. Look at that smile on her face going.
Yes, calm, cool, and collected Carrots, as she's able to set her team up for 8 wins and just narrow this margin a little bit, start chipping away at it. And that's all, you know, that the Terps can do right now. They're only able to hold on to Carrots' gun, and they're going to have to kind of have a mismatch in their economies. But it was a messy retake, and it was a 1v1, and it was, you know, it's a hard battle here, but nonetheless, they got the job done and they won that round, and that's what matters here.
Oh yeah, what a great replay there. Just get a little something to take the edge off. You know, that Omen was already low, and it was just great to see Carrots take it out. And here she goes again with this up, but this time she's gonna be with Trace, and Trace is gonna go ahead and Sova drone out there to see if Carrots is able to take somebody lacking. But UTT is favoring more towards C, but they heard that off, and now it looks like they're starting to scatter. So they're scared, which is very good. And we already got somebody caught on A side too, so they're kind of just stuck running around mid.
And they, like you said, UTT kind of stuck right now up in mid, and they haven't really made themselves present here in this mid side. The Terps don't really know exactly where they are for the moment, or that at least there's 5 of them, but they will soon, as Care Bear and Savannah able to get a pick apiece. And I'm still managing to hold down to all 3 of the sites here onto Haven. And now the Terps have to be aware of a potential scale into Garage, but their positioning is really good right now to pinch a potential Garage push. Tracy just has her crosshair lined up, but no, is not able to get that swing. Carrots will be the one to do so with an operator, finds a second, and Savani will be the one to close out that round. And here we are, finally getting back into our groove here.
Like I said, we had that off, and now you just gotta run. Once they heard that off, they already knew not to mess with A site. Unfortunately, they did get messed up with on C site instead. The economy is still looking pretty good though on both ends, and we're already up. We're 11-9 right now, and honestly, it only takes 2 rounds for UTT to take this home. So the Terps are locked in right now. We already have Carrots pushing back on to A long here, hopefully catching somebody off guard, but nobody in UTT is there. They already expected it from the Terps.
Hey, but never say never. They scale back to A side a lot. I would like to see almost Carrots be patient here and still hold that long angle, maybe even if it's spawn, but nonetheless, because they may rotate as soon as they sniff out that Soap is there, and she could potentially have set up on the C site.
Oh yeah, most definitely. But already UTT is just hanging around C site and is already going to go ahead and commit here as they're all flooding onto site. Savani was able to get somebody as well as Soap with that amazing setup she had on C, and it helped us out so much. Unfortunately, she is very low, but nonetheless, we have Spike down, and Soap able to get 3. Can she make it 4? Unfortunately not. She gets picked off, but Trace does finish it off for us for that round. We're already 11-10. It's already looking good. I can feel the momentum coming back up, and that's all we needed. We needed more momentum, and now look at the smiles on the faces.
And that was a really good C hold from the Terps, you know. We've seen so much action on A, not really on B, but this C hold was great. The setup was great. The positioning was great. Everything went well for them. But look at this economy we have for our ultimates. Oh my goodness. 5 on the UTT side, 4 for the Terps. That is going to start to become the decider here for the rounds as we start to close out map number 1. And you'd hate to see Carrots not get that pick. It's not a good start, but hey, the Terps can flip the script, especially if Care Bear is able to come away with a win here. But she just unfortunately is in an uphill battle in that ISO ultimate. And now the Terps, you know, they are grouped together up in spawn, and they're kind of thinking about how they want to go about this retake, wait out that Cypher ultimate that came their way. Savani looks like she's looking at swinging up into heaven. She does get that pick, so that's a great way to kick off this retake, and she's able to take a ton of space up into heaven and look down onto sight, and that Cypher ultimate is used for the Terps, and it's just a whole lot of utility being invested into this crucial retake. Are the Terps able to take this one away with them? It's all up to Savani to do so, and she's left in a 1v1 and just a flash to work with here, and time is ticking down. She's got to drop down onto the site, takes a little bit of an HP hit there, but the bomb is ticking beyond repair.
So close to getting that pick here, Savani girl. It's okay. We knew what you were trying to do. We were right here with you. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out. And it's really hard to work your way out of heaven, especially if the other team knows that you're there. You got to break your ankles and get out of there as soon as you can, especially with the bomb ticking at the same time. It's okay, Savani girl. We were there.
The reaction was priceless.
I would have done the same thing. But it is just one more round until UTT wins, not unless the Terps can take this into OT, which I believe is very possible. Look at that leaderboard going on here. We're pretty even, but now that UTT has that momentum, knowing they need one more round, they're gonna just go ahead and full push onto a B push here, and they're not in quite yet, but they know what they want and they know their destination. Not unless they're just trying to scare Care Bear off of this round and maybe push into Garage. It looks like going on to C site, and it's scary. Don't know where they could go.
Yeah, they're quietly making their way up into Garage, and oof, Carrot's got a glimpse at that Yoru, but not enough to land a shot. And now UTT has complete control of the C site. UMB's got to fight for it if they want to win map number 1 with 2 getting picked. It's not looking great for the remaining 2 players, and they just have to pull everything out of their playbook here and try and get a win, and it's looking dire with Soap getting picked and Trace only at 11 HP.
Yeah, they already know where Trace is hanging out here. She's hanging around on CT. They're just going to keep spraying and hopefully catch her off guard, but it's very close. I think she's probably going to be able to walk away with a pick, but maybe not a defuse as time starts to dwindle. And with one more person on UTT's side still there on site, I hope she doesn't get caught. No way. You know, she hasn't been seen by that Yoru yet, but either way, you got a front and a back to look at, and unfortunately, we did end up losing that round to UTT for our first map.
Man, and tough loss, just being ahead for most of it, having so much momentum up until the half switch. Then all of a sudden, you know, the Terps were kind of left without an answer there for UTT. So hopefully the Terps are going to be able to take this time in this break and recoup a little bit, you know, get into this like a 0-0 for the next map pick. So make sure you guys tune in just after a brief commercial break. We'll be right back.
Terp Adventures take flight at STAM. Host to countless Maryland events, programs, performances, and more. Feed your body, feed your mind, feed your soul. Let your talents soar. Dance, sing, perform. Find your thing. Join more than 800 student organizations and clubs. Find community here. Leadership lives here. Art thrives here. With space to grow. We're all just kids at heart. Let your imagination fly. Compete. Play. With wings on our feet. Here your spirit can fly. Here your soul lifts up. Here you remember those who came before. This is STAM. This is the Center for Campus Life, where Terp adventures take flight. You belong here. Come fly with us.
And I think by the end of the season, like now, we play together, everyone kind of jokes around a little bit more and kind of shines their natural ray. We're excited just to see them play better as well.
With the middle school program, the best part has been seeing the moments of teamwork where the middle schoolers really seem to get the game, and so that's when you can see they're starting to get a little bit hooked on how esports can be so fun.
Off game, or will Red turn things around?
Your ad tech stack is simple, streamlined, and easy to manage, right? Yeah, right. If you're in ad tech, then you know you have a problem. Ad tech is messy, and your tech stack includes way too many tools to effectively manage. At Playwire, we're here to uncomplicate your ad tech stack. We've consolidated the entire publisher ad tech stack into a single platform and added in proprietary technology and advanced tools to generate you even higher CPMs. Get access to an ad tech stack that is simpler and smarter.
My name is Subin Kim. My in-game name is Carrots, and I'm the controller of this team.
My name is Hannah. My IGN is Tuxedo Sam, and I play Sentinel for the team.
My name is Sima. My in-game name is Care Bear, and I'm a flex.
My name is Megan. My IGN is Giraffe, and I'm an initiator.
My name is Sophia. My IGN is Soap, and I'm an initiator.
Hi everyone, I'm Ayush. My in-game name is Dulce, and I'm the coach.
For me, I think it was just really interesting to see like our names on like social media and like on a website. I'm just like, whoa, my name is on a website but so I think that was like the number one thing that kind of like just it brought the realization of like what kind of team I'm in, like what kind of position I'm in.
Meeting them. It's like hard to make a woman and non-binary friends in Valorant, so it's just really nice that we have like a team specifically for that.
The studio.
Yeah.
Oh, the studio.
Yeah,
oh, I didn't even know that existed. I didn't know that existed until like remember like when we first talked about the studio. I was like, what's that? When I first went to the room, I was like, oh, there's cameras and lighting. I'm just like, that's
nice computer.
Nice computer.
The monitors
So
are crazy.
true.
Winning.
Yeah, winning.
Oh, so true.
Yeah.
W winning.
Getting that.
Yeah, that
Yeah, I feel like
was pretty cool.
hey. I would say supportive is definitely like Dusty and Rachel. Those two, just like making sure we had scrims down, making sure we had practice schedules down, like Dusty making sure like to pick out what we did wrong, just like, helping us improve. I think definitely.
Yeah, Dusty's a very present coach, so
Very.
it's like he's really reliable and helped us through the whole season.
Thanks, team.
Yeah, you'd even like schedule things for us,
like organize all those schedules.
help us map bands and like talk to
Stats,
them
yeah.
if like realize if one of them was like unranked or something. Breaking a
Forfeit
rule,
teams.
making teams forfeit.
Maybe we don't talk about that last part.
I would also say like our fans in chat, like on
Oh,
stream.
true.
So it was nice knowing
W
people
chat.
watching us.
And the haters.
Oh yeah.
Improve in the higher division.
Yeah, it is definitely more challenging because we're in a higher division now. But I think we could, like, with our coordination, I definitely think we could. We need to bring home another one of these.
It feels great.
You
Yeah.
guys know this is the first title that Terps Esports has won.
Wait, seriously?
And by
Really?
women.
Oh, seriously? Oh,
First time.
cool.
I like playing Valorant.
Have an excuse to play games.
That's true. That's good.
For me, I joined because, I've always wanted to be on a women's team, especially since I got to UMD, and me and Dusty had always tried to make teams work every semester, and this was the first time it actually did work and stuck, and the people who tried out were committed. So I guess I've always just wanted to be on a women's team to connect more to that community.
To make friends.
So I had that gap, without a team for a while, and then I saw the form, and I was like, I really want to try this. This sounds fun. And then, yeah, I play Valorant too much. First of all, I did not imagine me being IGL when I first started, because I am, outside of my Lilac team, I am known as the no-brain, only aim chamber in comp. So I did not imagine myself being IGL. But I think if there were some difficulties in the beginning, because no one, I wasn't used to giving out comms. I was just very confused. But I think now it's just the amount of trust that my teammates give me when I give out comms, and the amount of coordination that we have. I just love being IGLing, because I trust that things will work out.
everybody. We had a bit of a heart-wrenching map number 1, but we can just pretend like it's a clean slate and we can head right on to map number 2, which will be Abyss.
Yeah, and we did have Saima get switched out with Kiko. Our Care Bear did get switched out with Kiko, and I'm pretty sure Kiko's going to go ahead and do Duelist, meaning that Savani is going to be flexing. So we do get a first look on how Kiko plays with our team, and what she's been saying is that they've been bonding pretty well outside of the studio. Let's just see how they are once they're on the map, and honestly I think it's gonna go just as fine. I don't quite remember seeing any of our members from GC Premier doing Abyss, and I'm sure that they have, but me personally, I hate Abyss. I hate it.
It's such a tricky map. Like it's such a unique map in the way that you can fall off and just run off the map, and you have such like limited space in that way, because it's not like, oh, if you're out of space you can reposition.
Yeah,
sometimes you literally are backed like onto the edge into the abyss, as the map is called. So it's kind of a tricky map in that way. So it really does come down to, you know, how they end up playing each round and how they end up picking their agents. And you know, we see actually a pretty interesting comp from UTT. We have the Chamber, the Uno reverse card, say, hey Carrots, if you're gonna play Chamber, we'll come right back with it. I believe they also had a Harbor on UTT side.
They did. I don't know, and I saw that Carrots stepped off and did a little bit of an Astra play instead of the Chamber, which I think she's gonna step back just a little bit on this map, but I feel like a Chamber would have been perfect for her on this map. But nonetheless, I think it's okay. I think I saw Savani lock in a Sky there. Kiko was going a Jet, and I'm pretty sure Trace was on Sova, or was that Soap on Sova? But we did have a Sova nonetheless. We're getting a lot of info and a lot of intel before we fall off of the map. So either way, UTT seemed very, very just set on their picks, which is why I'm a little skeptical. I feel like they already knew their ways to work around as a team on this map, considering how fast they chose, but we'll see how that goes, and I just want to see great plays tonight.
Yeah, and hopefully we're gonna see just that here as we head onto the defensive side to start things off. And I do favor playing defense on this map. I know it's quite of a large map, and that's why sometimes defense can be tricky when it comes to rotates and having to respond. But I think there's a lot of great opportunity on both of these sites to have really strong setups, particularly on Cypher and that Astra pick. So I can already tell we're going to have a lot of utility placed onto kind of that choke point there before we enter B site. And also on A, there's so many corners before you actually make your way onto that site to clear that can be filled with either a player or utility there.
Yeah, and don't get me started with how mid works. Oh my goodness, mid is just its own game, but we already have UTT all just hanging out on B right now, as Carrots is just standing on top of that box and does get taken off by that. Wow, there's so much happening. Carrot already getting 2 picks. I take it back. She is not stepping back for this map, no matter what role she's playing. We have Savani here going ahead and throwing in that dog to see if anybody else is just standing on that bridge, but UTT is kind of stuck here. There's not much to do.
Oh, and Trace getting a pick as well, but she's not aware of that Harbor who's looking right at her here. And the Terps still have a bomb to defuse, and they got to get their way onto the site. But to do that, Soap's got to win this fight. Oh, no. Oh, no. Anyway, here we are at Carrots in a 2v1 and a bomb to defuse, a high-low to be aware of as well. It's going to be tricky. She's going to have to play her angle smart here and take one fight at a time. But UTT is not going to give it up easy at all. They're going to double swing and take round number 1 for a win.
Yeah, that Chamber got 4 picks that round on UTT side, and mind you, that's the ISO from last map, and I don't think I got to see much performance as they were playing ISO, more so when they had their ults. But either way, that was a great execution here. As we see in this replay from UTT side, Carrot was able to get a few people off and prevent a push to go farther, but unfortunately we just didn't win it. And now they're gonna go ahead and do the same thing they did last map, but this time this Chamber's gonna get an outlaw. I am nervous. We're all full pushing A here. It's gonna be crazy.
Oh, and Soap knows. Soap knows she has that cam there, and she's has no choice really but to back up and just wait for the rest of her team to respond and just kind of have to give up this site, use that utility to slow them down and even get a pick as a result of having that trip place. But for now, that's all it's going to have to be before the reinforcements start to flood in. But Spike already planted, so the Terps have to work their way around these smokes that they're faced with and rely on that utility, particularly the initiator utility. It's going to help a lot as it's already coming into fruition here for Soap and Savani up in heaven. But oh no, this Yoru and a Stinger just absolutely detrimental but in the backside there. And now, yeah, the Terps gotta still defuse this bomb. They have numbers up and they do have a smoke protection for the moment, but as soon as it dissipates, they're met with their match, and it will be that player who we saw in ISO last round had a really good performance, and it looks like we're off to the same start.
Yeah, I think Harris finally is starting to meet her match here, and it's a little intimidating to see that only happened in the second round, by the way, with Justin Outlaw switching to that Ghost, finishing off the round. Crazy, absolutely crazy. But UTT's playing style is much more different than it was on Haven. I think maybe it's because Haven had an extra site that they had to worry about, but what it looks like right now, UTT is just choosing either A or B. But this time, it's looking like it's going to be split between mid and A. But we have Savani and Kiko holding down mid, so who even knows if they're going to push through here, especially now that since Carrot has went ahead and just smoked them off.
Yeah, early mid presence being shown. Mid is tricky, kind of like you were hinting at in the round before. A lot of potential for high-low, a lot of potential for util spam, and right now we're seeing just a long-range outlaw spam go down into mid, but that's not where the spike is going to end up being planted, so the Terps knowing that, just trying not to sell out too much into mid, you know, cost too many lives, too much utility there in a space where they can really just sit back and play sites as another approach to this map.
Yeah, and the Terps is already down one person, and UTG's playing very quiet and very sneakily as they slowly start to make their way up B, and they have one person just lurking around mid. Hopefully Carrots is able to catch that chamber and end everything. Mind you, this is her match, and she does do it successfully. Is she able to get another pick? Unfortunately not. But either way, the rest of the Terps are running onto B site, trying to make sure that this retake is just perfect and flawless as they're flooding in onto site here. And with that spike planted, the stakes are high. The bomb is ticking, so it has to be now that they have to make an action here.
But with two initiators, I like this utility for the Terps that's available here. Trey's going to start to use that drone, and now Savani has a good chunk of her utility left, has that heal available if she so needs it, but the Terps still have to get this retake going, and Savani getting picked is not going to put things off to an easy start for the Terps. Here, Soap and Trace just trying to play together here, but ultimately deciding to save, as it looks like, because they do have those good Vandals, Phantoms in hand. They don't want to just give those up easily.
I will say that Harbor on UTT side is doing a very good job with their walls, and it's very annoying to have that wall just be blocking you, especially if it's off mid or off robes on A site, and they were able to execute that perfectly. But I think that's a big issue here for the Terps to get around, especially since we only have Carrots being able to just use Astra Smokes. You can't really get that kind of quality unless it's like an Astra ult, and that's 1 point away, and it's very possible that she could use it this next round. But with this buy, it's just not looking good. We have to rehabilitate ourselves back up to have a better and decent buy for these next coming rounds, especially with how UTT is just going at it.
And look at this potential early round action we could see off rip. Both teams posted up on this A site and don't have any looks of backing down. It's such an aggressive motion here from the Terps, able to take 3 down instantly and spike along with it. And now what a beautiful way to start out this round when you've been trailing so far on this map, to come out with such confidence, get that spike on the ground, and just hold up a position to wait for the attack to come in and try and reclaim that space that the Terps have now claimed.
And it's good aggression from the Terps. You know, if that could have gone bad very, very fast, but thankfully the Terps were able to work as a team, all 3 of them just running through and asserting that dominance. And now you see Kiko girl, she's locked in, she's ready for these smokes to dissipate and get these picks. You know, we have bomb, we have dominance, and either way they're gonna have to go in through the smoke, and they're gonna meet the rest of our Terps, and Soap is able to take away that chamber from us. But what about this Omen? This Omen has no choice but to run. 40 seconds is not enough to go through, but was able to just wallbang or just spray us through the smoke, losing carrots. And so now we don't have any more smokes. There's not much more to do other than just wait and see.
That's so rough if you're Carrots. It's so frustrating to go down like that. But I think the rest of her team has got this, no problem. They just have to let time do its thing and tick down here and just not give up 1v1s here. And they do a great job at just that with Soap delivering the final blow there. And just what a brilliant round from the Terps, you know, instead of saying, hey, we're behind, we're going to play more passively. They really just took this round just, you know, by the neck there and said, hey, like, we're just gonna charge in on A site and guns blazing.
No, they literally did. And I think that's what UTT was like. They were taken by surprise because of that. And it worked. They played their game. The Terps played them the way UTT plays, and it caught them off guard. Savani with that beautiful blind and just having the rest of her teammates there to help her out. And it worked perfect. But here we go with this Harbor throwing in that wall. It's very annoying, especially for Soap. Soap's gonna get a dart soon and maybe still get that drone catching on her, but UTT left the bomb behind, meaning that they're defaulting yet still. But Kiko was caught a little bit. Thankfully she wasn't hurt or anything, but they know her position, but she also knows where that Omen's position is as well.
And UTT doesn't want anything to do with the spike right now. They are not interested in planting this bomb anytime soon. They're trying to get picks. They're trying to reposition accordingly. Look how much space this chamber, though, has bought for their team, and gonna continue to do so by taking down Savani. Suddenly, B is looking very favorable here for UTT, knowing that they're gonna invest that Omen ultimate. They're gonna invest that space and push up a little bit and secure this B side, and they've executed that plan perfectly here.
Especially with that Omen ult to just go back onto site and grab it. Unfortunately, we did lose Soap in the process here. Hopefully, we don't lose Carrots, and we do. And that chamber was able to get 3 picks that round, and it's looking like this is their map. It's kind of, you know, just showing us what UTT is all about, and unfortunately, it's still pushing us back just a little bit, but I think all we need to do is just play their game. Play the way that they are playing, and I think that's what's going to catch them off guard. And with that, our economy isn't doing so hot either, and it's not helping us out at all. And I don't know, maybe it's too early to speak. We are only 3 rounds down, and it's just not looking so hot. We just have to read UTT properly, I guess you could say.
Ooh, a lot of B aggression off rip. Harbor ultimate invested, drone invested, just the whole 9 here for UTT. They want this B side. They're gonna get it just instantly. They're pushing off any sort of sentinel utility that the Terps had in store. It's a full-scale rotate, 5v5. How are the Terps able to crawl back into this round? We'll have to see what's in the cards for them. Kiko starting things off on the right foot, though, and able to get that heal from Savani. That is huge, and that's why you want a Sky on your team. And now that Cypher ultimate invested for the Terps, gonna sell out that location for UTT, and it's gonna give the Terps more confidence here to go in this retake. They have Soap working on the flank. They have the rest of the team on site here. Soap able to get 1 Carrots also. Still, this is anybody's round here. They're gonna, knowing that they're gonna invest that Astra wall and try and buy them time to defuse this bomb, and Carrots getting picked. So does Trace, and the bomb able to be detonated. Oh my goodness.
I was so scared. That was just high intensity there. I honestly didn't expect Carrots to go ahead and use that Astra ult just right then and there, and honestly to get another round in, unfortunately, it just wasn't worth the use for it. But we do have Savani's ult happening here, and this buy, I think we're gonna be okay with this buy. You know, the Terps are good with their pistols. We are Divo Demons, but you win some and you lose some, and honestly, that might be the case for this round, but we'll just have to wait and see how UTT decides to execute this, especially with this A push here.
Oof, rough start there for the Terps. Soap getting paying there for the unaggression that she was showing in the early round. Kiko gonna pull out the jet knives, actually not gonna quite catch anybody on the other side of them yet, but meanwhile it's all a distraction up into mid, and Kiko does end up getting picked, but hey, there's an A site here, bombs planted, and now you've got yourself in a 3v5 retake. And I don't know if they're gonna use Savani's ultimate here. I think that would be kind of risky, considering just, you know, your guns are not in your favor. The last round you lost a lot of ultimates. Maybe you just want to save up and hit the next round with a little bit more force, which looks like is going to be the game plan. But the Terps have to get back into this game before it gets too out of reach for them.
Yeah, and that bomb is just ticking away as that chamber trip is just staring down Carrots there. I think the Terps are just going to have to play their exits and hope for the best. But unfortunately, what the heck? Carrot just got picked off like it was nothing. And the most you could do here is just die to the bomb and get a little more money up. But like I said, you win some, you lose some, and it's hard, especially if you just have pistols coming against all these heavy ARs and these heavy guns and big loadouts happening. But we do have a timeout here on the Terp side. What can we do?
Man, it's a rough start for the Terps. It is. And the only thing that has seemed to work for them is not being predictable. Doing that kind of out of pocket defensive push up into A. But that's not something that's going to work every round. So maybe the key here is, doing more unpredictable things, things that not even just pushing, but just stacking a site maybe. Running up mid, there's different things that they can try, because I think, the retakes have not been looking great and the site holds haven't been looking great. So if there's a way we can work around having to confront those two things, I think that might help the Terps out.
Yeah, most definitely. And I just, honestly, I don't know. Doing that on top of, I guess, just staying planted. I don't know, because from that last round we felt like flies and we were all sprawled out between mid, and all of them, they were already on site maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds till the round, since the round had started. And that's not good for us Terps. And, it may be good on UTT side that they're able to just get that down, but that's just something they're just going to rinse and repeat. You got to bring something different that throws them off, just maybe it would just make them rethink their game plan for that round. But I don't know, they're ready to go and going through mid here.
And the game plan seems to be switched up a little bit with a split here just from the Terps, and being a little bit more aggressive on the A side pays off early for Kiko actually, and they were able to get that chamber ultimate out in the early stages of that round, which is going to be really important later on. But meanwhile, it's a slow push up into mid. I like that the Terps aren't buying into it though. They're playing site like they've been doing in the past. This round though, are they going to be able to finally prevent a plant from happening is going to be the difference maker.
Yeah, but the thing is that UTT is sprawled out between mid here, so you really don't know where they're going to sprawl out of. The Terps are under the impression that they're still going to come in from the main sites, but we're still not too sure. But we're very patient. That's the thing. We're very patient. We're just waiting for a sign here, especially since Carrots is here on B. With the help of our Cypher here, they're gonna go ahead and start throwing in all that utility and preventing them from sticking that plant, and at least trying to get picks off of them. And successfully, Soap was able to do so.
Yeah, Soap holding down the fort so far. She does get picked off. Spike planted. The Terps left again to react here, left again in a post plant, and it does look like UTT is gonna play this one off site, which is typically the play call on this B site. But Savani able to speak first and work on this flank alongside Kiko here. Can they work together with their utility in hand? Yes, they can, and they're able to finally give the Terps another round win here. And scoreboard's not looking great, but it's a start. You got to start somewhere.
And I think that was a vital play for especially when we switch sides, because I'm sure that the Terps will perform much better if they're on attacker side, especially with Savani on Sky and we have Kiko on Jet. It's going to be a perfect execution onto whichever site, and they're able to hold each other's back while holding hands at the same time. But it's good to get those numbers up, especially if you're on a side that you're not doing so hot in. But let's talk about this chamber having that up for a second, just for a second.
Yeah, they didn't like that. Kiko got their chamber ultimate out of the equation early, and they're going to repurchase that off. So that might be unexpected for the Terps, and it's an early push here from Kiko this time. She's not going to come out on the other end of it alive. And we do see a default here really, really spread out from the side of UT Tyler. And now we know that operator's positioned up into mid. Treese just kind of trying not to get caught in the crossfire there and not give up an early pick here, because that's really essentially what UTT is looking for.
Most definitely, especially with that chamber. And that's the whole reason why that op was bought to begin with. But even still, they're showing aggression towards mid as they're still walking up B site. Obviously, they are not too sure about executing it just yet. I just know that the bomb is there, but they want to push it very bad, and it's not looking good for the Terps, especially with this Harbor ult going in. They're gonna execute it successfully, even though that they see these trips here from Soap, but nonetheless, they were able to get on that site and get that plant down as the Terps are forced to do this retake on this site that they haven't gotten much success with yet.
Yeah, just another really good B execute from the side of UTT, and it's another retake here for the Terps on this B site, but this time, can they flip the script here? Can they get onto site early enough before the bomb explodes? Trace already trying to make her way onto site. She does end up getting traded. Can their teammates take space off of that? It's not looking great, but maybe Savani could help flip the script here. She's the last one left alive with the Vandal and 3 players to go up against. Time starting to tick down a little bit. She's got to start to be a little bit more proactive and be aware that there's 2 players waiting in main for her, and sometimes those bullets just don't go your way, and you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, those boxes, if it's one thing with standing on those boxes, the thing with Valorant is if you move just one bit, your bullets will just go everywhere but your enemy. Anywhere but that, and I think that's what unfortunately happened to Zavani, just falling off that box on top of having to reload, and just an unlucky situation for sure. But I know that we know how to get around this chamber. Just don't feed in to ego peeking against this chamber. I mean, I know that we're able to work our way back up from this, but it looks like they're rinse and repeating their gameplays, and I don't think the Terps quite see that just yet, but they're getting a sense of it, especially with how this mid play is happening right now. We already have, oh no, unfortunately Savani got picked off, but hopefully Kiko is able to trade off Savani here. Dash activated, ready to just go, but it's not worth pushing up too far for.
Yeah, not the way the Terps wanted to start off this round. They do have, just a little bit better guns in hand. They want to hold on to those, but to do that, they've got to start coming away with these round wins. And just Soap may have gotten, I kind of wish you went mid there. I feel like that would have been unbeknownst to the side of UTT, but regardless, that's not the way the cookie crumbled, as the Terps just really struggling here to get a hold of either of these sites, to get a read on this mid push. Kiko left up into A main and is left to kind of just fight for her own life there, and does end up dying. It only leaves 2 Terps alive and on opposite sides of the map. Again, not looking like a very feasible retake here for the side of the Terps.
Oh no, not at all. I think what Kiko could have done is just waited for Carrots to be there and just be a little bit more support for her, but unfortunately that Yoru just took her out instead. But I think it might be the same play, and it's just going to be exits, as Soap was able to get 1, but now UTT is a little scared as Soap was able to get 2. A crazy headshot, but was unfortunately picked off. Carrots here is just waiting, just having a laugh, because she knows that they're gonna just have to go her way, and it's looking like that's exactly what's gonna happen. Lock in, girl. You don't want to take away just yet. But she was able to save that gun, and I don't know, it's just not much to, there's a lot to think about, especially with our economy right now. Our economy's not so hot at the moment.
Yeah, and when you're up against this operator that the chamber keeps repurchasing, it's hard to have an answer to that on a map like this, where those long range fights are necessary here to have any sort of fight in mid be somewhat fair. And with Sheriffs in hand and Hero Vandal for Carrots, these players are very capable. They have a great aim even with those Sheriffs, but this map is not built for that. This map is not favor Sheriff gameplay, especially in mid.
I would like us to switch sides, being 8-3, but hopefully this doesn't become like a 9, a 9-2 curse. Unfortunately, we did lose Savani, Kiko, and Soap within the first few seconds of the round. We don't have too good of guns right now, and again, like you said, Carrots does have that Hero Vandal, so I'm sure that we're able to at least maybe get a pick off of that Omen. I spoke a little too soon. They're just out for blood here as Trace just locked in. Trace is just at least trying to maybe catch somebody off guard, because that's the most you can really do here. Let's be realistic.
Man, and it does just look like what's in store for the Terps here is gonna have to be a 2-9 here, and it's just really a hard place to come back from. especially when you show up in map number 1 so well and so dominantly. And I know they don't favor the defensive side here for the Terps, so you just kind of have to hope that in the round switch, they're able to get immediately back into their element on the attack. And it's just kind of unfortunate here that they started this one off on the defense.
Yeah, I'm sure and I know that they're much better here on the attack side, but it's just, I hope that they get to prove that, especially with this operator, you know, this op crutch just happening like it's nothing. And either way, they're always going to go mid is what I've noticed. UTT is always going to go mid, throw in that dart and try and get those same picks off of Kiko and Savani. They know Kiko is there and they want her blood, but Savani was able to just get her out of there with that flash happening. But they're just so jumbled up, and it's just, I think it's confusing the Terps just a little bit.
And again, UTT favoring this B site with that Harbor ultimate time after time. And the Terps have yet to come up with an answer. Can we see them finally come away with a round win here before going into the attack half? Let's see what's in the cards, and it's an early collat. Make that a triple there for the Harbor for the side of UTT. Soap able to get a pick, but it's just not going to be enough here for the Terps at all. And once again, Trace left to just get as many as possible as the Terps switch into the attack half at a scoreline of 2-10.
Yeah, I think you really just have to prove yourself here on the Terp side. And I feel like we're able to get these picks, but the way UTT executes themselves around those picks is just way too good for us to handle, I guess you could say. And honestly, applause to them, but it's just, I know that the Terps are able to get away with this on the attack side. This is still very possible, maybe a little bit of a stretch, but it's still possible to at least get a good amount of rounds back up.
Yeah, it all starts with here. It all starts with a pistol. It all starts with one round going your way before, you know, you go on a run for your team. So if there's any time here in map number 2 that we can really get back into this series, it's going to be this pistol right here. Knowing that the Terps are going to play collectively here and push up, not give 1v1s up into B main, knowing that Chamber's going to TP out, reposition, and wait for this full-scale Terps push to happen on this B site. And that's exactly what's in order here for Kiko and for Trace, who unfortunately just get caught in the crossfire, although Carrots and Trace herself able to respond and able to plant that bomb without taking too much hit there for her life. And yeah, mid is certainly something that the Terps have to watch out for, and they're able to get that sky heal for Trace. That's really important here in this 3v2 post map that the Terps have found themselves in, and now they really just have to hold space here and wait for those swings to come their way, and it should be a round win on paper for the Terps, and that's exactly what it'll be. And hey, this could be the start of a comeback.
Most definitely. This is what I like to see. And like you said, it's very, very crucial for that first pistol round, because if you lose that first pistol round, you're going into that last round with just hopes and dreams and like a stinger. That's really about it. That's all you could really do. And then OT again, and just, it's a whole cycle. But that was great. That's what we needed to see. I saw that Savani bought heal that round on first pistol round, and it actually really helped out the Terps. You know, we got a lot of damage, but we didn't quite die. But because Savani was able to rehabilitate us and heal us back, it helped us a lot and gave us that extra cushion here.
That's why you always, always, always buy that heal on Sky, especially when you're the only healer on your team. Sage, not super meta still. Having that heal is so important, as off rip, there's a lot of presence in mid for both sides, and oof, it goes equal on both sides with 2 apiece. For both the Terps and UTT, and now at a bit of a stalemate, but it's all a distraction here because look at A site. Meanwhile, there's just fights going on here, and this is where the bomb actually, it looks like it's going to be planted, but still the Terps able to equalize things 2v2. Savani is wisely looking up into heaven, is going to reposition and take that stinger fight, but it will be Trace actually to be the one to get the job done there. And the Terps, you know, winning these rounds, going to get their economy up, get their confidence up, and slowly but surely work their way into Abyss.
We got that plant money down even after the round, so if anything, that's like an extra like 400 for us all, and we're able to get decent guns now, and it's starting to look up. But let's not get too cocky here, because this can still very much go down south for the Terps. And I think now that everybody's on a even playing field, the UTT is going to show out. Most definitely. They're going to be very aggressive. And this is what the Terps really, really need to look out for.
Yeah, now is the time for some big plays for the Terps. You know, lean on those clutch players here. This is when you need them. And right now, it's, you know, looking like a bit of a more passive round for the Terps, you know, just kind of showing 1 or 2 players for this B-site presence, but those Astra Stars going to sound the alarm bells, and now it will be a trade for either side, and this Chamber is just holding down this B-site with everything that they've got. Savani sneakily hiding in a smoke here. I don't know if this Chamber is going to expect if, you know, once this dissipates her positioning there, and she hasn't been spotted yet. She's going to swing out, and unfortunately does get picked, and it's going to leave Soap in an uphill battle here, a 1v4, you know, doesn't really have great spike control either, and, you know, you hate to see the Terps momentum be crushed kind of like this.
Yeah, but we did see Soap was doing pretty well with the Bulldog last time, but she is getting a lot of damage considering she is going against a lot of these Vandals, and they're just wall-banging her and throwing all this utility at her, so she has no choice but to make them push up on her. If they really want this pick, they gotta push up for it, and she was able to successfully get 1 pick. And either way, I don't think a plan is gonna happen here. The most she can really do is just play those exits and just die to the other team, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Terps gotta be perfect from here on out. You know, we're up against 11 round wins, and also let's take a look at the good here. You know, Soap's having a great game for herself. She is doing really well in that Cypher position, and again, that's a high ACS for a Sentinel player. You know, she's really good at playing her utility, playing her life, playing the lurk. But still, just has not been enough here to give the Terps the edge.
Unfortunately, it really hasn't been. And the Terps are going to split onto mid this time. This is new. They do have guns now. And I don't know. Like, A looks like it's on lock right here. UTT is just so close to the entrance. They really want to catch the Terps off guard. And it's just a drone v drone just battle here. Say cheese, guys. Because they were able to just, you know, get rid of each of their drones, and now they know where the Terps are standing. They know where they're going to be, but they don't know that they're going to start rotating, thinking about rotating just a little bit farther back, but they're playing smart. They're being patient here, and I don't think UTT likes that. They're kind of just moving around, trying to push up just a little bit to catch them off guard, but it's not working. The Terps are still here.
And I would kind of like to see the Terps scale up mid. There's no defenders positioned there right now. There is some utility that they've got to watch out for, but I think they have an opportunity here to really catch UTT off guard if they were to quietly scale up mid, but instead they're going to lean on this B site here, and they're met with a lot of smokes off the bat, so they're going to have to try and work around those with all that initiative utility they have, and with Kiko getting killed, Soap as well, it makes it very difficult to get any sort of grip on this B site.
Unfortunate, most definitely, but thankfully Carrots was able to get a pick, and we just ended up trading off of one another, and all Carrots can do is just try and get as much picks as she can, but unfortunately with that spray, the harbor, and all these smokes happening, it's just not going. So we are already at match point. I'm really surprised we didn't get a little bit of a timeout before, so kind of just think about what more there is to do or potentially take on for the next few rounds, but I don't know. I think just gotta lock it in. The only thing though is that the Chamber does not have enough money for an op, but they do have their ult, so that is most definitely going to be pushed on to this round. It's most definitely going to be detonated this round.
Yeah, 100%. That Chamber definitely loves that ultimate, and I want to see something different from the Terps. You know, why not? Why not go up mid? Why not like rotate, fake a site, rotate? You know, just switch something up here, you know, get this pick into mid and then go from there, I think will be the play call. And knowing that Trace gonna peek and actually successfully get that pick, and that makes A site look kind of appealing for the moment, but they're gonna be met with a pretty aggressive way of being confronted here with the defensive side. They're watching Trace's positioning really carefully as a trade goes through for either side as well. Ultimates starting to be invested, knowing that this is a high stakes round for the Terps, and they are still cut up into mid.
And even still, if our numbers are looking still pretty good, and actually they're looking much better, all they have to do is plant and stick to this post plant and make sure that nothing more is going to be done towards them. They just have to pick a site right now and lock it in. Hopefully Soap is able to catch the Sova off guard, but unfortunately she is unable to. But don't fret, we do have spike planted. We just really have to lock this in, and especially with this Astra ult that Carrots was able to detonate, we should be okay. We can't hear anything happening from the other side of the team.
Yeah, and it just will be some clean picks there for the Terps to keep them alive. But at the expense of that Astra ultimate, you know, they were able to hold on to that Trace's ultimate, that Sova ultimate, which is really important for post plants. But still, you know, it's gonna have to be a really clean performance from here on out.
Yeah, I don't think it's sufficient enough just yet, because UTT only needs one more round for them to take this home, and it's very possible that they can do so. But I think I hopefully hope that was a little bit of a turnaround for the Terps, especially, and it already looks like this chamber is going to go ahead and detonate that ult, and they most definitely did. So I hope the Terps are able to work around that and look out for that. And now that they know that they can have a little bit of justice on mid, it looks like they kind of want to take it and do a little bit of like a late meetup here, as the rest of the Terps are just waiting on Savani's dog to show what evidence that they can get from A.
And right now, this chamber is positioned into B site, and I have noticed that the Terps scale back there or tend to have that as their plan B, no pun intended, but I hope that is not going to be the play call here, because that chamber's being really patient with their operator angle.
Oh, most definitely. And if Carrots just walks up just a little bit, it's not going to be a good look for her. And I'm sure she knows that, as somebody who played chamber, as somebody who knows how to hold an op, she can sniff out what this chamber is going to be doing. So she wants her team to be safe here, especially now that Savani is able to throw in some util and knock him back down and just kind of prevent different angles for him to be holding. But now they're walking back through CT here, trying to just go on to A, it looks like. And A doesn't look as protected as it should be, especially with this Sova on UTT side holding it down.
I'm really liking this A site here, especially with Soap getting that pick. I think the Terps should really take advantage of A site right here and right now, especially with Savani's ultimate coming into fruition there. Able to get that bomb down, no problem, but are they able to keep the site is the question. Retake early here for UTT, and the Terps trying to hold down the 4-3v2 right now in favor of the Terps. They're going to play this one really passively here up into a main and wait for that sound of the diffuse to come through before giving any sort of peek.
And don't fret, I'm sure that they're going to be able to sniff out whether or not they're just tapping the diffuse, and they most definitely know. Carrot especially is just spraying through this box. Savani was able to get rid of that Yoru, but this chamber is choosing between the bomb, the pistol, and his op, and was unfortunately able to get Carrots out of the equation, and Savani as well.
So it will be UTT who comes away with